Alright, Arrow finally returns with episode 10, Emiko Queen. It starts off in typical Arrow fashion, just Emiko's voiceover in place of Arrow's, and it also ends with hers, and it shows her checking off her list, hunting down people. It's, her skills are pretty interesting. She's pretty damn good at what she does. But the actress performed well in most of the fights and all that type of stuff. Some of her acting, I don't know, something just felt a little hit or miss to me about her performance. I don't know if it was her acting, if it was the actress. I'm not really sure, but I'm gonna break this down into different little segments. First, I'll cover the Oliver Felicity side of things, and then I'll get into uh, the Miko and Wild Dog Renee type things, and then I'll get into the Diggle side of things, and then finally touch on the what's going on in the future with Renee's funny hair. But so Oliver goes out with what's her name, Diana, in they investigate a scene in which the new Arrow was at last night and left some blood on a window. Speculate that she was injured. It looks like it didn't end good for her. They also get into how the officers don't really trust him, or the CSI really doesn't touch him, doesn't trust him. She's like protective of the blood sample, not wanting him to touch anything. And so Diana takes the blood sample and has a little private talk with Oliver about that. But Oliver takes that blood sample back to Felicity and she checks it out and she tells him, "You better sit down. Can you, or was it, can you sit down?" I can't remember exactly, but it was kind of funny, even though I hate Felicity's guts. Uh, so he learns he's got a sister this whole time, and his mind is blown. That learns it's from his father's side, so Robert Queen wasn't the man he thought he was exactly. There's some pretty upsetting news in Felicity suggests, him going out and finding her and being involved with whatever she's doing because she dressed up like him for a reason. And he's like, I don't want to interfere with her life. Dude, she's dressed up like you. She's your sister. She, for all you know, has nobody else. And right now, you don't really have any family. So this line just felt stupid to me. And that it didn't seem like the character motivation there. I don't want to interfere with her life. Like she's got some great life going. She dressed up like you, dude. Came to your city, started doing the stuff you were doing. That that bothered me. So they get into more about that. They pull up old. They get some old boxes and stuff. Get some stuff out of storage. Start going through that. And another thing that bothered me is he immediately found a letter in which his father discussed Emiko's existence and her being looked out for, and they talked a lot about Oliver's Felicity, and Oliver talked a lot about his mother being the reason that letter was stashed in storage, and she wouldn't want him to know, and that's why. And he just goes on about. And don't get me wrong, yeah, I mean, I do think this would have some pretty substantial effect on Oliver, like him just finding out he's got this sister. His father had a secret family, and that his sister had to grow up alone because nobody was ever there to protect her like his father wanted. Uh, I just felt like his acting in this was a little bit over dramatic, a little bit on the teen soap opera side of things, and uh, the relationship between Oliver and Felicity seems to be fixed in this episode primarily. She does reference the crossover in which he was running around like Flash and all that. So I'm glad somebody did. But uh, beyond that, there's not really much. They have a private talk like on the balcony, and she suggests that he go see her regardless. He get involved, so he decides to. Yeah. Now we'll talk about Emiko herself. She her little checking off her list and stuff. All that's going pretty well. I thought that was probably the strongest part of the episode. But she goes to break into this one place and ends up caught off guard, and she has to escape. Leaves blood on the window. Turns to Renee for help. Uh, when he starts suggesting he can help her, uh, she's immediately like, "I don't want your help," and he's like, "You came to me." So man, she's pretty defensive about not wanting help. So she just kind of storms out of there, and Renee's daughter kind of talks him into staying a part of it. So he goes to her again when she's out about to attack some people. He thinks she's about to get ambushed. He helps her out, but it leads to the guy she's after escaping. He makes his case. She makes her case. They go back to where her hideout is, or whatever you want to call it, and he sees her whole board where she's got all these people stringed together. The people that try to set fire to the movie theater in that one episode, and all those characters, and she's got this little diary, and she goes on about this like blanket, and she talks about her father. Of course, Renee doesn't know anything about who her father actually is at this point, and she goes on about how these people killed their mother, and that's why she's after them. So there's only one guy left to find, and he left a special bullet that indicates it's him. So Renee, his daughter, and Renee says he's gonna help her, and she's like, "You should go back to your daughter," and it's like, "This is what my daughter wants me to do, help you." So they go out, and there's some pretty cool action. Renee at night with that damn mask on, looking like Jason with a gun, and Emiko takes down the main guy. Pretty, pretty good, strong fight. She takes down the main guy though, and she hesitates to execute him because she asks, "Why'd you kill my mother?" And he's like, "He didn't, and he was somewhere else at the time on like a covert mission." And she ends up sparing him because he makes it pretty clear to her that somebody framed him. Uh, After that, they leave, and she shares that information with Renee. But now she just feels lost because she doesn't know. Somebody misled her the whole time to following a string of different people that aren't the people responsible. Somebody intentionally misled her, and now she's at a dead end. Renee's all like, he's all for helping her. So, and you can see the contrast between this Renee and future Renee when I get into that. The thing going on with Diggle and his wife is they're trying to get information out of Diaz, and he won't give it up. And essentially, it just leads to him overtly suggesting that, you know, to restart the Ghost Initiative. Infinitely, the like the deputy guy in charge of the operations that she's over. He says that like it's her idea. He makes it seem like it's her idea when it's not. It's really his idea. And after he leaves, she's pretty pissed about it. She said, you know, she wanted to shut down the Ghost Initiative because she wasn't cool with it and any of that, and she's really pissed at him for undermining her and sort of usurping her position. But she goes through with it, and it gets reinstated, and they inject Diaz in the back of the head with a bomb, and there's some tinsel dialogue there between the two. See, see if anything will come out of that, if he actually gets his head blown off, or if he gets this thing out. I kind of think he'll get this thing out. But he's officially part of the Suicide Squad, which was reinstated under the name Ghost Initiative because they can't use the Suicide Squad name. And then we get into all the little future stuff, which is just Renee and his daughter. She's trying to get information. The Glades is prosperous. I mean, it's rich. It's rich, and he's really turned it around. It's the most beautiful place in the whole city now, and they've kept separate from Star City with something called the Archer Initiative, I think he called it. I'm not really sure what that is. And it's what cleaned up the city and all that. There's a lot of talks about how he's changed and how the rest of somebody's plotting to destroy Star City, and he really just doesn't care, and that he feels like she's been hanging around with the Canary, and that really goes nowhere. It's just you can see the real contrast from past to future version, how he's really changed a lot, and I don't know how the hell I got this way, but he ends up getting confronted by Diana, and she kind of forces him to give up her information because she was hoping that he'd come around and talking to his daughter would bring him back to his old ways, but no, no. So she has to forcefully get whatever the Archer Initiative, whatever, out of him, and she goes back to his daughter, and they activate the system, and then they start looking for whoever's gonna bomb the city. There's a lot of talk about Felicity in here too, about how she's dead, and Renee's caught off guard by that. He says she was a criminal, and she goes on about that whole Mark of Four thing between her, Diggle, Renee, and they don't mention Curtis. They mention everybody else except Curtis, so that was a little odd. Wonder if he's dead. Uh, but Renee goes back to his office, and maybe I just don't remember this guy. Maybe he's been on here before, but he talks to somebody, and they're really behind who's intending to bomb the rest of Star City, and he talks to this guy about, did you take out Felicity, and he said she was becoming a liability. All this stuff really indicates that Felicity died very recent, which is very unfortunate because this is very far in the future, and I want her dead now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do not like her. I cannot stand her. She derailed this show a long time ago and kind of took it over for a couple seasons there, and now it seems like it's finally fully returned back to Oliver. But I don't want to say that because I've thought that before. And then it went right back to the Felicity and Friends show. So, uh, the final thing though that takes place in the present day is Oliver meets Emiko Queen. The episode ends with like her narration and then their encounter, and who knows where that's gonna go. But I thought this episode was very average, not a big return. It's just like a 5 out of 10 for me. But share your thoughts, comments, opinions. Stay awesome. Rock on.